Uh, all right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Into the Lion's Den with today's hosts, Mr. Brenden Worley. He's our special guest today, and Christian Griffith, brought to you proudly by Pride Roofing and Construction and Level Creative Studios. You got to do it round. Make a sound bite. That was even better than Billy's. Yeah, they got the little board over there. You can plug that in. We got
I want to be on a bunch of them.
Yeah. So today, guys, we're spinning into, well, we've been doing this for the last couple of weeks. You haven't seen all the videos yet because luckily we have a backlog of filmed content, so we're ahead of the curve. But what people are going to be seeing moving forward is the, I guess, introduction to the rest of the Lion Pride. So we wanted to introduce Brenden. Brendan's with us for just across the 2-year mark.
Yes, sir.
All right, so he drank the Kool-Aid. He's part of the cult. Just kidding, we're not a cult. And he's been doing a phenomenal job. So he is currently working as our team lead with the sales team. He's produced an incredible amount of volume himself, and well, we're happy to have you here. So
happy to be here.
And pause for a second. So Brenden, tell us about yourself. Start from when you're a baby if you want to, or summarize. You do you, but we want the audience to know who you are and what you like about Pride and what brought you here and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'll summarize a good bit just because, I don't know, changed a lot in my life. But I was born in Greeley, raised in Greeley, lived in Longmont for a little bit, but mainly Greeley. So
city who raised you.
Exactly, G-Town. So, yep, I've been in Greeley for now 25 years because I still currently live there. Mm-hmm. So, that's basically the outline of where I come from. But I went to high school in Greeley, a little bit in Longmont for my freshman year, and then went to UNC in Greeley. Big athletics guy, played football, basketball, track, just about anything I could play. Mainly football and track. Ran track at UNC, and then kind of decided that I wanted to start moving for some career goals instead of focusing on track. So didn't pursue anything there, and honestly, I wasn't really all that good. So I was just there to practice. But in high school, I was mainly 400 runner, but I had dabbled in the 800 a couple times just because our team wasn't big.
God, I hate the 800. I definitely ran the 800, but I hated it the whole time.
Well, unfortunately for me, UNC's track coach came out and watched me run an 800 and said, "Oh, you've done that with no training. You're going to come run the 800." So that's what I ran in college.
What was your best split?
Split wise, I think 155 and some change, but open 800, I ran a 156 at elevation, which was my last race that I ever ran in college, and then COVID hit, and I kind of called it quits. So, yeah.
That's zooming.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. I mean, I was second worst on the team, but, I was practicing really hard. So.
Well, when I went to college when I was wrestling, I don't think I scored a point until, like, the second semester of my freshman year. So being second worst is probably better than where I started.
Yeah. Well, and you know me, I'm all about like kind of having the team environment and the vibes, and I kind of try to bring those vibes. So that's kind of the approach I took in athletics a lot. And although I liked competing and I'm very competitive, especially with track, it's like I came in there knowing I wasn't going to be the best and that I could eventually if I kept at it, but I was there to make sure the rest of the team was at their peak. So that was kind of the approach I took.
Captain support.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually for a semester of that, I was the captain of the cross-country and track team for a semester until I kind of called it quits. So, it did help me out for sure, but COVID kind of messed it up. So
what'd you study?
I have a degree in accounting. As soon as I was probably my last semester of senior year, and I was just about to finish college, and I went, I am never going to be an accountant. This sucks. So I did get the degree. I could potentially fall back on that if I ever needed to, but I don't plan on it, nor do I ever want to. So it's just kind of there sitting in my pocket for no reason. So
I should have never asked you that. Now I want to be like, hey, you want help with some bookkeeping?
Yeah, exactly. No, I did bookkeeping as an internship, so I've done it before. Happy to help, but just know your books are not going to be kept correctly. So
IRS, don't listen.
Yeah, I'm not doing it now. So.
All right, so we got to the college. What have you done since?
Yeah, so I like I said, as soon as I finished up track, I'm a big work ethic guy, so I maintained a job in college working at a mortgage company. And then fresh out of college, I worked there for about a year and then kind of decided I didn't want to sit behind a desk for the rest of my life. And so tried to jump into sales, found a couple jobs that just weren't really the best for me. I didn't make enough money and I kind of just wasn't doing what I needed to do. And then realized I had a little bit loftier goals. And that's kind of when I found Pride. And you guys were able to teach me the sales process. And I realized I really liked sales and that I wanted to be in it. So that's kind of where it all sparked from. So,
Sure.
yeah.
What intrigues you about sales? Why do you want to stay in sales?
Honestly, problem solving. And my wife will tell you this is like her least favorite thing about me, that I try to solve all of her problems, and I'm sure that we can all feel that way. But
She just wants a shoulder to cry on
exactly.
and some validation.
And I'm like, dude, get up. I know how to solve this. Let's do it right now. So, yeah, that's kind of, I really enjoy helping people with problems, whether they know about them or don't know about them. And kind of in this industry, it's like, hail falls or wind flies, and you kind of know, like, oh, I should get my roof looked at. And I like being that guy that can solve that problem for you. Or if you didn't know you had a problem and I get up there and I let you know you do, I like being that resource for people. So,
yeah. I've said it, I don't know, probably 100 different times through all these crazy videos that we've put out, but my favorite recruits, at least for sales personnel, are always athletes.
yeah.
That's what I like about the sales field personally is I can compete in things, but it's like the geriatric version of competing for things because I'm well past my prime, So my version of competition is the sales world. You have the opportunity to be the best. You have the opportunity to let your reputation shine in front of people, right? It's all about the process. It's all about the time in, not under the lights before you shine. It's who put the actual work in when nobody was watching. That's what I like about the sales field. And that's generally, there's like this unquenchable or unsatiable urge that, athletes have when they take that into sales. They become dominant.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
Yep. So, okay, so you're in the sales world. What makes you tick, Brenden? What do you like to do outside of working and running?
Yeah, honestly, and I don't even really run that often. I'm currently training for a half marathon that's supposed to be run in the next 3 weeks. So, and I'm a little behind the ball on that. So I'm going to kind of just muscle my way through it, but we'll see. But yeah, honestly, I mean, I haven't really started much of a family, but I have a wife. And most of my time outside of work is spent with her and kind of doing whatever we feel like doing that day. So lots of, we just recently got into Yellowstone. We've been watching a lot of Yellowstone and 1980 or 1923 and 1883, whatever they are. And
So I'm going to see you on boots here pretty soon.
I've been wearing boots all winter, brother. So and we watched Landman, so I got myself a straw hat. I've been wearing it around the house.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I'm
funny.
about, so,
When
yeah.
people get into, when it comes to the media that they consume, they generally start to, like boots, then you get some,
Yep.
some ripped up or washed out jeans, and
Yes,
then
sir.
you've got pearl snap buttons, and then you're the whole 10-gallon hat guy after that. So
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to get to, but I just haven't found a situation where I need to wear all that yet. So 'cause
Every
I don't
day.
really do much. I know.
you
I
do
try.
you, boo-boo.
Hey,
You can wear it wherever you want to.
I told Dan, I said at my 2-year mark, maybe JD will get me a cowboy hat that's branded with Pride on it. And
Yeah.
he was like, I don't know about that. And I was like, I'll go buy one then. So,
I was told by a phenomenal salesperson. Actually, this is a guy I look up to in the roofing and construction world. His name is Paul Reed. Paul Reed, you're the man. But that's who we went to the CRA conference. Josh and I went to. He is built and then sold part of, but still is a part of ownership and part of leadership for Northwest Roofing, which, I've mentioned a lot of times on these podcasts. I don't consider a whole lot of our competition to be competition. They're not seeing things through the same lens that I'm seeing things through. Now, yes, are they getting in the way of whatever path to victory that we have at this time? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right. But Paul Reed is one of those people I want to emulate. And he was talking about how you have to leave a lasting memory somehow with the clients that you have. In order to create raving fans, you not only have to make yourself an individual, one that's rememberable, but you have to get them to buy in and all this other stuff. So he was talking about that for a little while. And I asked him, after the conference is over, or no, I didn't ask him. It was another guy that was in the crowd. But they're like, "What makes you rememberable?" And he goes, "Honestly, I think it's my shoes."
yeah.
Yeah.
I
he
love
goes, I'm a shoe guy. So every time you see me, you're going to see a different flavor. I have entire closets full. This is him
Yeah.
talking. Entire closets full. When he was running, and I noticed that myself when I first met him for the first time. Is he's wearing a Louis Vuitton flat bottom sneakers, and they had what was it? They were cowhide, right? So they're white, but they had like a brindle cowhide
Yeah.
put into it and stuff. And I was like, those are cool shoes.
Yeah.
And he goes, honestly, I think that's what they remember me by, because when I walk in, they see the shoes, they want to come talk to me. And he gets a lot of looks and conversations from the ladies at the front, and that's how he makes friends with them. And then they introduce him to the people who to make decisions
Yeah.
afterwards.
I love that. I'm gonna have to get some contract signing shoes.
He said he had a guy on his team who they called him cowboy, but that's because he always wore a cowboy hat. So I'm like, just wear your hat. Wear the
There you
cowboy
go.
hat. Go for it.
I'll get my my contract hat instead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funny that you say that, because I in football and in track, I used to tell people all the time, look good, play good. That was my thing. And so football, I always had my sleeves on and my leg sleeves on and like little wristbands.
Black
I had
thing.
my eye black. I was,
John 3:16 like Tim Tebow.
Yes, sir. And then I'd go out there and hand the ball off to the best player and watch him score a touchdown. It was great. I loved it. So
So you're a quarterback.
yeah, I did play quarterback. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, well, you're the guy that drives the success of the team. So,
absolutely.
well, let's talk about that a little bit, driving the success of the team. So, what you're currently doing right now is you're working as a team lead for the sales division.
Yeah.
We are currently recruiting and training a whole boatload of salespeople because of some issues that we had last year. We're down some men. What do you think about all that?
I love it.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, just team environment in general is always something I've loved. Like, I love working as a team, and that's why I think that I excelled pretty well in athletics, was just because I loved being around the team, even in and out of practice or games, whatever. But I also like, I have maybe not as much knowledge as a lot of people do in this world, but I love to share my knowledge with people, regardless of if they already know it or don't. I'm going to tell them again because I love to just share with people. So I think that having new guys in as often as we have lately, it's just like, it's fun to get to sit with them. And even, again, back to the problem solving, it's like, it's not always with clients, it's with coworkers too. So if they're having issues in the field, it's like, okay, well, how do we tackle this and how do we make it better and get you going in the right direction, you know? So
Right.
I've always enjoyed giving my 2 cents of things and giving them the information that I have that I know can help them, and kind of setting them off in a path that I guess that I was kind of set off when I first started here.
Sure.
So
What does it do for you when you watch them succeed?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, what is it like? How's it feel?
yeah, I mean, I would like to have the audience perceive me as humble, but I mean, I jump for joy inside when I'm like, yes, they got a contract signed,
Yeah.
or they use the concession close I told them about, whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
gets me excited.
Yeah.
And I think the guys see that too. Whenever they get when we're out door knocking, they get a lead, I'm over there, yeah, attaboy, good job. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite part about having built this business and being involved with other organizations and working my way into leadership positions and stuff like that is, well, I'm not an idiot. I realize that maybe sometimes I'm an idiot. You talk to my wife, she might think I'm an idiot depending on the day. But either way, I know that nobody woke up one day and said, I want to work at Pride Roofing and Construction. That's the business. That's the place. I'm going to put my feet down. I'm going to live there forever. That's what they want, right? Most, I mean, they definitely, it's not a childhood dream of anybody. It wasn't around when they were children, right? But my favorite thing is when somebody does get involved. I understand, and I said that on purpose because I understand that not everybody's going to be here for forever.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as that sucks to watch people, you know, come in and leave, what I take away from it is I know that with the investment of time that I've put into any of these individuals, some people less than others, some people more. I wish I could split myself into 100 pieces so I could work with everybody all the same. But my plight and the thing that really gets my rocks off is when I know that they are better because they were here and because I was able to give them in as much information as possible. You take that into the world, and I helped you become a better person.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that, you know, I don't know if that we can throw humility into that. I firmly believe that what we're giving people for the universal tools are very valuable for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, maybe that's not the same for every organization because some people are bad eggs and they probably shouldn't breed more you know, eggs or whatever. Right? But anyways, that's my favorite part of all of it. It's I love to see, and I'm kind of guilty of one problem. I'll see what your thoughts are of this, which is I generally tend to see, as I'm training and developing people, the version of them I know that they can be, whether they see that or not. And I play into it and I invest into it and I give and I give and I give. And sometimes they never actually put the feet down and start making it toward that particular vision. But I'm guilty of believing people are already the best version of themselves, and I try to offer as much guidance as I can to get them to that point. Um, but yeah, I've wasted a whole lot of time believing in a version of people that they're never going to get to. Have you ever found yourself in that rigmarole with any of the team members that you've worked with, and how do you battle that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm relatively new to the whole leadership role here. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of jealous of the fact that like you can easily see like what you want, or I guess what you think people can be, because I feel like I find myself struggling with that a lot. Especially with these new guys, it's like, we get people on the team that can easily understand what I'm saying and ask them to do, and it's just a breeze, and they move on quicker than others, and it's phenomenal. But it's some of the other guys that it takes time to like work through those things that I'm like, oh man, what are we doing? Like, this is terrible, and I can't figure this out. And so it's definitely been a change of pace for me. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everyone's different, and I think that where I've decided to invest more of my time is understanding kind of. I think you do pretty good at this of just understanding what makes them tick.
Yeah.
Find their motivation, understand why they're here and why they chose to accept this job, and what gets them out door knocking and selling every day, right? And so understanding that point for everyone is kind of going to be how I lean into people. And so if it's, well, I want to make sure that I'm getting my steps in, well, cool, I'm going to make sure you knock 500 doors a day. That's great. Or if it's, I need this amount of sales a month to support my family, well, great. I'm going to help you move towards that goal, right? So just kind of figuring out where everybody ticks and how they like to sell and how they like to not sell is kind of more important for me, right?
Have you found any difficulties in tailor fitting your management style with any of the guys?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that goes back to like, as much as I want to say like I can just fit into however everybody wants to sell or what they want from the job, I know what I want from the job and I know how I want to sell. And sometimes I find myself being pretty not as lenient as I should. And I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, you didn't send that email the same way I would have said it. So I hop on their computer and I correct it before they send it, right? Like I am very stuck in my ways of like, this is how I do things. And it was successful for me to an extent. So you guys should do it the exact same way. And it's understanding that like not everybody needs to write everything the same way that I do or sign a contingency the same way I do. Like, well, some of it's just them, right?
There is a winning script, right? And you've found one for yourself. But what is difficult is the fact that these people didn't grow up and live every second of their life like you did.
Exactly.
Right? Maybe they weren't Greeley born and raised. Maybe they didn't go to Longmont for a year of high school. Maybe they weren't track stars. Maybe they didn't work on teams. Maybe so on and so forth. So that is a difficult task when you're working into management position is figuring out how you can find that tick, right? What is it that makes you tick? Do I ask the questions abruptly? Do I just position myself in a room where I start to understand how they respond to things? How am I going to find this thing? And then from that point, how do I tailor fit my management style to lead into that or lean into that, I guess is the best way to say that. It's a difficult task. Now, I can't say that I do it perfectly. And especially with the role that I have right now, there's a lot of people in this office that I don't, unfortunately, not by choice, I just can't spend much time with them. I don't know what makes some of them tick, but I try to get as involved as I can. And when I know that I need to invest and I can see that version of them that they're not understanding that they could be, I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure they get there.
100%, yeah.
So, all right, so tell me, do you have any difficulties with the transition? What are the things that you're currently working on to become the best version of leader that you could be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also, as much as I like to give knowledge, I like to soak it up too. So I think some of the things that I'm doing to kind of set myself apart and make sure that I'm ready for whatever comes is just learning things that I didn't know existed until I got into this role. And some of that is managerial, some of that is construction knowledge, and some of it is just situational awareness. And so kind of just leaning in more to the situations that I'm currently having with my clients. If, I'm running into a situation where I've never seen this before, whether it's construction or some problem that a client just has, rather than just going to somebody and be like, well, you're a manager, you handle it. I'm trying to figure out hey, if this was your client, how would you handle this? And then kind of let them give me feedback and then handle it accordingly, right? So, but also with just construction knowledge in general, I mean, I want to learn as much as I possibly can, whether it's flat roof, shingle, metal, whatever. And some of that also is situational, but just we have so many guys here that know so much that I just want to learn from them all the time. And so um, that's the main part of it. So I have time set aside just to learn managerial things with Billy, and I've been learning a lot from him, and just kind of also soaking up the feedback that the new guys have given us, and just letting me know like what part of the process that they struggle with and what is super easy for them to get. And it's different for everyone, but understanding what we might need to put in place so that it's a little bit easier for them to do their job and transition into their roles. Yeah, all of those things, just learning as much as I possibly can.
Sure. Yeah, it's a long road. You know, I think I kind of am a believer that there are some people who are born a leader and some people that aren't. I don't necessarily know if that's a skill that people can become incredibly good at without it being innate inside of them. And a lot of that leads in. In my opinion, a lot of that boils down to how empathetic they are. I think the best leaders are the ones that have the most empathy, and not necessarily in a negative or like empathy's never really negative, but there's a connotation around it that it's weak.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
You know, they're strong leaders, right? Talk softly and carry a big stick, right? Like that kind of stuff. Like there are people who will bark orders at you, and you unfortunately have to listen to them because of the position that they hold.
Yeah.
But would you go to? I think that the best description I can give of a good leader is somebody who could tell the people he's leading that, hey, I'm driving this gas truck into hell. Hop in, and you trust them that you're not going to blow this gas truck up in the fiery pits of hell. Like he has a plan, right? It's a little. I don't know, obnoxious of a thought process.
I like that though.
But a leader is somebody that they're like, not that it's blind trust, but it's that they have understood that you are there for them, and you wouldn't be asking them to get into that gas truck if you didn't have their best interests in mind in this mission that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think there are people who are naturally better leaders, and I think it boils down to empathy because they realize they can only lead people if they truly have spent time thinking about life in their perspective or living inside their shoes first before they take action. And some people just don't really have that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can categorize that into just businesses in general. There are businesses who will work with fear of loss as their strategy to motivate everybody. And it's like, do this or else you lose your job. Do this or else I will fire you, blah, 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 right? That's really short-lived, right? It's a revolving wheel type of business. The ones where, let's do this together, that's a whole different concept. In general.
Yeah.
I take a position a lot of the time as a servant leader. I think that I can attribute that to my life in church and my love for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, right? It's like I'm trying to model after what I think to be the best leaders on the planet, and it really always boils down to servant leadership. Are you willing to do the things that you're asking these people to do? Yeah. Are you willing to get into the trenches and show them that you're not above this, even if you are? I guess they are, like, hierarchically, you don't necessarily have to do this, but will you? Because you're trying to achieve this goal, and that's what really gets people to buy into a leader is this person asking me to do this because they don't want to, or because we all are on the same page and we want to go to the same goal. Like our course is set for this destination, and in order for us to get there, they're going to do that thing, I'm going to do this thing, and we're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on servant leadership?
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about it a lot, and I guess that's kind of what I would like to model my managerial style off of, or my leadership style, just because, I mean, I feel like I've done a really good job. My friends group has always been kind of like, I'm the guy they come to with things. They know that not only am I a problem solver, but I do have that empathy for them. And it's guys I've been hanging out with since high school and some of them college. And they just know that, if they're in a tough situation, we go to Brenden and he's going to help us through it. And I think that I've always taken that role of having empathy for people. And hopefully, I like to think that people know that they can come to me with their issues and I'm going to help them through it and kind of lead them in a direction that would be helpful. So, I guess coming into eventually get into some sort of leadership role that's a little bit bigger. I mean, I would hope that I can kind of manage or kind of guide people to know that I'm more of a serving leader.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, you can be dependent on, like, I was listening to I don't remember whose podcast it was. It was some kind of alpha male podcast thing, trying to get psyched up. But they were talking about who your true friends are. And they're like, oh, and this guy's quizzing, or the interviewer starts getting quizzed, like interviewed by the guest, right? It's like role reversal, right? And he goes, think about the people that you consider your friends. How many of them, if you call them at 3 a.m, are going to answer the call? Right? How many of them, if they answer the call, are willing to go and help you with whatever it is that you're calling them for? Yeah. And he sits and he thinks about it, and he's like, maybe one. Right? And that's the person I feel, the one that he's talking about. I feel like that's the natural leader. Yeah. Right? That's the natural, dependable person, is the one that, if, regardless of how much of a constraint it puts on their life, how much stress it adds or whatever, they're going to be there because they want you to know you got their back, and they want to know that you have their back too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So yeah, I'll get off that topic for a minute. Let's talk about fun stories and your time in the field with Pride Roofing and Construction.
Yeah. Can
you think of any wild exchanges or accounts or people that just kind of leave a lasting impression in your mind that the audience might get a chuckle out of?
I mean, I can think of a lot of...
Avoid using names.
I was going to say, I can think of a lot of clients that have left a lasting impression, but let me think of some of the funniest. I mean, even today I had a walkthrough with a gentleman, and this one's not necessarily funny. It's more empathetic than anything, but poor guy recently had a fall on his property, and so he wasn't there when we built the roof or anything. And so we went out there to meet him today, and we walked in, and he kind of just held up a whiteboard. And I was like, okay, there's nothing on it. I don't know what he's trying to say. And so start talking to him, and then he just goes, I can't hear. And I was like, oh, that's what the whiteboard's for. Mm-hmm. So I just did an entire walkthrough on a whiteboard, which was really fun. Yeah. He also couldn't get up and walk around, so I came into his house about 4 or 5 different times. Yeah. We were just writing on a whiteboard and explaining to him what was going on. So that was kind of a fun one. And it's kind of just
about being flexible.
Yeah,
learning
absolutely.
How to pivot. That's difficult to get past. Yeah.
Luckily, he was also pretty on top of it. And although he's a little bit older and can't get around as well, he already had a list made of the things that he had questions about. So it made it pretty easy to just write down on the whiteboard, answer that question, write down on the whiteboard, answer that question, and kind of move on. So luckily for him, he's got he's got a good family behind him. So both of his daughters were there kind of helping as well. So, sure. Yeah. But funny story-wise, I guess I don't have a ton, but one that I told the karate story before, so I'll leave that one alone for a second. But there was a time I was actually covering a inspection, and I was with somebody new. I want to say it might have been Chris Berger, and we were going to do an inspection. And I knock on this guy's door, and he's not coming to the door. And I'm like, dude, we have an inspection. I can see his door's open. It's just the screen closed. So I ring the doorbell, and then he kind of puts his head around the corner, and he's like, oh, are you Pride Roofing? And I was like, yeah, that's us. And he's like, oh, you can come in. And I was like, okay. And so I kind of come in, and I turn the corner, and he's got this flat screen that's about the size of this wall on his wall, and it's like blocking off half of a doorway because it's so big. Mm-hmm. And he's playing Xbox, just playing Xbox, and he has a headset on, and he's standing in the middle of the room, and I was like, okay. And I said, we're just going to get up and do the inspection. He goes, yeah, hold on, I'm almost done. And he proceeds to finish his round of whatever he was playing, and he turns around and he goes, sorry about that. Yeah, you guys can get on the roof. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we did the inspection. I come down to talk to him, same thing. Come on in, wait for him to finish his round, and me and Chris are sitting there like, all right, we kind of need to talk to you, man. Like, we got other appointments. Finally turns around, takes his headset off, picks up his Bud Light, and then he's like, all right, so what's up with the roof? I'm like, well, it's in kind of rough shape, but you're kind of good for now. Like, it's not something we can file a claim on. And he was like, all right, good to know. Puts his headset back on, and I was like, all right, well, have a good day, I guess. So,
well, see ya.
Yeah, it was kind of a awkward situation.
Big gulps, huh?
Yeah, it was very funny. But
that's wild.
Have I ever told you the karate story?
I watched the video, but I don't remember the karate story.
Well, I think the reason that the karate story is a good story is only because it was my first or second day door knocking. Mm-hmm. And so it really caught me off guard. And I was like, is this what door knocking is like? Like, do we run into these situations a lot? But knocked on the door, and the lady took forever. So I was walking away, and I was about halfway down the driveway, and she comes out, and she goes, can I help you? And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm Brenden with Pride Roofing. Kind of give her my spiel, and she's wearing a gi with, like, a colored belt. And I was like, man, she's going to beat me up or something. And she goes, now's not a good time. I'm teaching a karate class in my basement. I was like, sounds good. I will leave you alone. And
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to do karate in my basement?
I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll come back later.
That's
so, yeah, that was My first impression of door knocking was the Karate Grandma. And
That's
it
wild.
it was awesome. So,
That's pretty good.
yeah.
You ever had anybody answer the door naked yet?
Not yet.
Oh my God, that's the most like you have no idea what you should do if that happens. You're like, should I turn around and run away? Yeah, because every time it's happened to me 3 separate times over my tenure, and it's like they're very comfortable, like incredibly comfortable with the fact that they're butt ass naked standing in the front door, and I'm like trying to make eye contact.
Yeah.
Should I go? Is this a bad time? They're like, no, let's have a conversation. Half the time it's like 10 minutes where you're just sitting there sweating like this, like, so that's funny. I was hoping you'd have one of those stories. I don't know if anybody else has ever got it, but
I was about to say, it's crazy that that's happened to you before, but even crazier that it's happened 3 times.
Three
That's
times.
wild.
Yeah. Well, it's generally elderly folk.
Yeah.
So it's even more uncomfortable because it's seared into your memory of what
Yeah.
just happened.
Yeah.
So, but no, I got a couple of good stories, but let's spin off of that. Tell me what your favorite part about working at Pride is. What is it about Pride that makes you like working here?
Well, first of all, like I said, I was kind of stuck behind a desk before, so I like that I am no longer bound to a office chair and a cubicle. That is by far my favorite part, that I always get more tan than my wife during the summer. Although it's a farmer's tan, it is what it is. But yeah, just being outside, just getting the UVs and enjoying the summer and somewhat enjoying the winter when it's not freezing cold and you're on roofs.
Sure.
But I think also just the amount, like I've already mentioned it twice, but the amount of like knowledge there is in the industry is like just ridiculous. Like as soon as you think you know everything, there's something else that's thrown into it, and you're like, dang it, I've never run into this before. Like
There is a lot of adjustments you have to make.
Absolutely.
Every single year, it's something new,
Yep.
right? I've had this conversation, I guess, with adjusters like 4 or 5 times now, and they all are like, you know what, you're onto something. I'm like, I know I'm onto something, because because you've met, a plethora of adjusters over time. There are some that will literally talk to you as if you were their best friend for your whole life while you're on the roof, and they'll tell you every feeling they have towards the person they work for. And this isn't to cast the insurance company into a negative light, but there's a lot of wild stuff that they do to make it really difficult for homeowners and thus contractors to make money in the industry. And I floated that idea. I was like, because you got that liability-free claims process stuff that's going on with the inspection companies coming out and not marking damages and all that stuff. And I'm like, why are they making this so hard for the client? Why don't they make it hard for the scummy contractors? And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, well, there's about 6,000 people in the state of Colorado who could pull a roofing permit, which means there's at least 6,000 competitors. The majority of them, I'd give it a 95% number, are waiving and crediting deductibles, lying to clients. They are doing anything and everything they can to file claims when there shouldn't be claims. I was like, you can really minimize the amount of claims you have by just actually auditing insurance company, or excuse me, contractors.
Yeah.
Right? Why don't you guys spend all this money that you're spending trying to screw over clients on bringing in some legal and investigating people for all the fraud that they're doing? You get rid of 95% of the competition, their claim numbers are going to go down pretty dramatically.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? So you're going to save the money and your clients are still happy. Like, what?
Yeah.
This is a pretty good thing.
Absolutely. That is a great idea, actually. That's phenomenal.
Like they're looking at it through the wrong lens. It's like, why don't we minimize the claims by getting rid of the shitheads, So.
Yeah. I mean, I literally asked an adjuster one time. I just straight up asked him. I was like, what happened? Like, what do you guys do with these guys that do pay for deductibles? And he's like, nothing. I was like, what do you mean nothing? Like, why do we go around telling all our clients that it's insurance fraud and that we're going to get in trouble if nothing happens? And he's like, well, because you could get in trouble. We just don't look into it. And I was like, well, start looking into it, because the guy that's up here right next to me said he would pay their deductible. I was like, right, I'm literally tattling on him. Do it now. This guy. And he wants to use Owens Corning, so like can him.
Yeah,
so.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, they're inundated. The insurance companies are inundated by the amount of work that they're doing all the time. So it's like, how are they going to take their resources and apply them to investigate these contractors doing all this stuff? Well, if you just, the problem will fix itself. You're not going to be inundated if you remove 50% of the claims industry wide. It's saving the money they want to save. The clients are happy. The people who are actually making claims are the ones who actually need to have the work done, right? Not bunk claims, all this stuff. I was like, you won't be inundated when you don't have all those schmucks calling all these claims in. And that's the thing. I've had so many interviews with, different people over time that are coming in for sales positions that had experience elsewhere. And nearly every one of the people who have experience before they come in here, their training was literally this. Your job, this is their manager talking to them. Your job is to knock a door. If you get on the roof, you come down and you file the claim, and I'll work it out for you after that. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
There's nothing wrong with the roof, but you have gone up there. Now you go down and you make them file a claim. If that's what 50% of the industry is doing, right? No wonder they give us such a hard time while we're out there.
I believe it. And that's why half the people that we work with are like, oh, I had a bad experience in the past. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to fix that.
Of course you did. You didn't call me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right then. Funny stories. Talk about your growth. Is there anything else that you want to talk about in this little impromptu interview before we tie a bow on it and call it good?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I just wish I had more topics to talk about. It's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a nice little vent session. I got off on a tangent there about the things that I just don't understand.
Yeah. No, it's fun though.
It's a good time. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things to learn about it. I wanted to highlight you and your growth into leadership positions and stuff like that, because you were doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate it.
Frankly, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass just so you keep working here. You're doing a good job. The guys look up to you. You're always there for them. I can always depend on you, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So I guess that'll tie it up for today. I'll give a call to action here.
Yeah.
Please call Pride Roofing and Construction and ask for Brenden Worley himself. Let's fill his pipeline up with good clients, of people we know are good clients because they're watching this interview and they're looking to make their lives better.
Absolutely.
All right. The number to call is 720-552-3321. And as always, please like and subscribe, engage in our content, ask some questions, and if you have any topics that you'd like to spin off on, or if you'd like to see Brendan's pretty face again on here, let us know. But for that, we'll call it a day. Catch you on the flip side. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Into the Lion's Den. We appreciate your time, and we hope that you've gathered enough ammunition to go out, fight the good fight, and become a better person every single day. Please like and subscribe, engage in our content, ask us some questions. We'd love to tailor fit the next episode to you.